Welcome back to Making Money Matter. My name is Kerry Stevenson, and today I've asked Paul Locke. He's the Chairman and Managing Director of Pan Asia Metals. ASX code is PAM. Now, you might think, well, you kind of know lots about Pan Asia Metals. They're in Thailand and they're in lithium. But actually, the reason I've asked Paul to come on today is there's a strategy emerging whereby they are looking to add value in that downstream area. And so there's a lot of lithium companies out there, ladies and gentlemen, but I think this one's a little bit different. Make your own mind up. Make sure you do your own research. But let's unpack where Pan Asia Metals is. Welcome to the program, Paul. Good to see you.
Hi, Kerry. How are you? And it's great to be on the new program. Well done.
No, thank you very much. Well, given that this is the first time that you've been on Making Money Matter, give a brief background to who are Pan Asia Metals.
Okay, Kerry. Well, Pan Asia Metals is a company focused on securing low-cost assets and positioning itself for midstream lithium chemical production. So that's what we're really about. You recall that we started life as a Southeast Asian focused company with our Rion-Ket project and a few other projects around it. We recently announced we've secured the Tama Atacama lithium project in Chile, positioned for low cost production too, and also positioned for value add. So it's the same strategy, a different country, and we can get into it. But basically, in a short sentence, it's all about securing low cost assets and positioning ourselves for value added midstream lithium chemical production.
All right. Well, when I've spoken to you in the past, Paul, it was very much a focus on Thailand. Now you're talking about a project in Chile. Are you signaling that Thailand's no good?
Sorry, no, quite the opposite.
Okay.
Quite the opposite. So we announced and when you're building a business and a strategy, it doesn't always fall into place in a sequential manner. Okay. And that's just the way life is. You've got different negotiations happening and so on. So when the opportunities arise, you've got to take them. But it's the ultimate plan that people need to keep in mind, investors need to keep in mind. So we announced Tama Atacama on Friday. On Monday, we announced our MOU with a tyre group called IRPC. It's a large listed tyre company in the petrochemical manufacturing space. And I'll get more in depth about that later. But that reinforces our tyre strategy, our Southeast Asian mining, lithium conversion and cathode active material. So concentrate to CAM strategy is well underway and a priority.
Okay, so going back to it again, does it take your eye off the prize in Thailand now that you've got Chile?
No, not at all. If it was just me out there doing all the work, well, it would. Right. But I can, what's the saying? Walk and chew gum at the same time.
Okay.
When we put Tama Atacama together, that was a 8-month process. It was a long process.
Okay. But
one of the key parts of that was making sure we had representation on the ground, because like Southeast Asia, you can't operate there as a foreign company just with foreign representatives, or I don't believe you can. Mm-hmm. So with Tama Atacama, we put a lot of thought into that, and we do have Jacob Rebeck. He's 80 years old. He's worked with Anglo American. He's been in Chile for a long time, and his partner in Chile, also a geologist. And we with them, we bring a lot of the street smarts on Chile with them. And we've also brought into the fold Thomas Eggers. He's about 40 years old. He's formerly with Anglo American, and he's Chilean, been doing a lot of work in lithium and copper, of course, in Chile. And he will be our consulting country manager, and hopefully a country manager in the future. So
yeah, and that's good. And by the way, I know Jacob Rebeck, and I have to say, and I often say this, ladies and gentlemen, as always, do your own research. But Jacob has been in the industry for a while. He is a top class. But I want to get back to that in a minute and understand the people behind that. But before we move into Atacama, if you wouldn't mind, can we just shift focus to Thailand? I want our audience to understand where's the value, where's the shareholder value coming out of Thailand, where are the assets located, and the importance, because there's plenty of lithium companies out there, Paul. What I want you to share with us, if you can, is what makes Pan Asia Metals different, because as I say, there's a lot of market darlings out there. There's a lot of people talking lithium out there, but you're looking more, I guess, from a business point of view and that downstream value add as well. So let's start with Thailand, where they're at and why it's important.
Okay. I'll step back slightly. So,
Okay.
When you said we're all out about building a business, a lot of lithium companies are out there about building a business. What sets us apart, and there are one or two others too, we're about creating a long-term position in the supply chain. And we've got several parties focusing on North America, and they're doing a great job. We're focusing on Southeast Asia for that part. And it's the same business model. We're a lot smaller than some of our peers, but ultimately it's the business model is to build a long-term business. And as you move downstream, you create opportunities. So in business, I believe it's all about positioning yourself for options to expand or do something. So if you don't have an option, you don't have an opportunity. But when you've got options, then you have new opportunities. So that's what about. So what I think would be helpful, I might just flip to a screen share, if you don't mind, and just run through Thailand and talk to that for a few minutes. So can you see that?
Yes, I can.
Fantastic. So in Southeast Asia, this is broadly where Pan Asia Metals is. So in Vietnam, we have a MOU with VinES to enter into a definitive agreement to build a lithium conversion facility. This facility is a standalone facility which would use a spodumene concentrate, and that could come from Australia or Africa, or even somewhere in between. Now, people might go, well, you don't have a supply, but it's important to realize that this is an option. We are positioned to learn all about the cost environment, the lithium conversion facility itself, because we're in our PFS, and so on. So we're positioned really well to understand what it means to do something like this in Southeast Asia. And on that, we've got our RFQs have been returned, and we'll be able to deliver a PFS to market fairly soon.
Sorry, Paul, who are VinES?
So VinES is a sister company of VinFast. VinES and VinFast, VinFast is a manufacturer of EVs. It's a small company, but it's producing EVs which are being shipped to the US and elsewhere. And they're both part of Vin Group, the largest private conglomerate in Vietnam. And VinES on its estate also has a joint venture with a Chinese battery manufacturer called Gotion, or chemical and battery manufacturer. And we're in the orbit of both those companies. So it positions PAM very well. And that positions PAM for future options. In Thailand, you'll see here that we've got a MOU with a Thai group called IRPC. And that is a lithium concentrate to CAM initiative. So we're in negotiations to form a definitive agreement where IRPC would be involved in some way with actually producing a concentrate, converting that concentrate, lithium concentrate, into a lithium chemical, lithium carbonate or hydroxide. And then now we're positioned to convert that lithium chemical into a cathode active material. So we are the only, as far as I know, the only ASX listed company with this option to take a lithium concentrate through to a cathode active material. And you'll see in Southeast Asia, I've got Vietnam, Thailand, Malaysia, and Indonesia here. This is a hotspot for EV and battery production. So I've talked about Vietnam. In Thailand, we've got 14 battery and vehicle projects happening. In Malaysia, battery factories are being constructed. And then Indonesia with nickel, a lot is happening there. So if I move to the next slide, let me just drill down on Thailand itself first, and then the options of that IRPC MOU. In Thailand, Thailand is the largest auto producer in Southeast Asia, the fourth largest in Asia. There are over 20 brands manufacturing vehicles in Thailand, and there are 14 battery electric vehicle projects underway and 18 battery projects. Because Thailand is the largest producer in Southeast Asia, the government wants to retain this leadership position, so it's policy heavy on EVs and batteries. And as a result, Mercedes EQS EV is being manufactured in Thailand. So if you see it on the Australian roads, it came from Thailand. BYD, the largest electric vehicle producer in the world, is building a factory in Thailand. Great Wall Motors is building a factory in Thailand, and it wants Thailand to be its ASEAN headquarters. And then there's a raft of smaller brands. This Hoson is a Chinese brand, and it's building a factory, and production will begin in 2024.
Paul, where do they currently get their supply from for their lithium batteries?
Well, BYD would be, I'd say, purchasing its lithium chemical off some of the big names around town, Ganfeng and so on. I can't answer the question exactly.
No, but I guess what I'm asking is from a shareholder point of view, or from people out there that are looking at this, are they keen on your RK, as I call it, the RK, your projects that you've got just north of Phuket? I just want to understand the connection and the value add for Pan Asia Metals.
Well, the value add, let me come to that. I'll come to that in a minute.
Okay.
Our project's located just out of Phuket, a short truck across the peninsula, and a barge, not a ship, a barge up into the Eastern Economic Corridor, which is a massive industrial zone. So Thailand and Malaysia are the largest industrial producers in the region. Now, to answer your question directly, these MOUs, this is how they position PAM. So in Vietnam, I mentioned VNES, by association, we're 1 degree of separation from Goshen and VinFast. So it's a great little ecosystem, and that's to produce lithium chemicals. In Thailand, our MOU is with IRPC. By association, it's controlling shareholder with 40%, 45% is PTT. PTT is one of the largest companies in Southeast Asia and Thailand. It's 51% owned by the Thai government. PTT has joint ventures with CATL and Goshen to produce batteries. See, there's a relationship there already between VNES and IRPC.
Okay. Yep.
And Foxconn has developed an EV platform, and PT and Foxconn are building an EV in Thailand using that platform. So PTT just committed US 2.5 billion, I think it was, to electrification. So by association, Pan Asia Metals is in the orbit of these companies. With IRPC, we're going to take our Rionket concentrate, produce a lithium chemical, and then we'd like to produce a cathode active material. So that's the ecosystem we're operating in, and that's what optionality is. In creating these relationships, we have created options to move downstream.
That is a great slide, just quietly, Paul.
Thank you.
Because I find sometimes I'm looking at what you're doing and not fully understanding, but that slide, I almost want you to put that slide back up again, because it kind of explains what you're doing that potentially the market hasn't fully taken on board, especially with the, as you said before, with the by association and that optionality, which gives you.
Yeah.
So for me, and correct me if I'm wrong, it kind of it makes Pan Asia Metals stand out a little bit from an explorer developer of lithium because of that sort of ecosystem that you're creating. Would I be right in saying that?
It's exactly the strategy.
Okay.
There's an emerging ecosystem in Southeast Asia. and we are well in place to be part of it. And that's the important thing. My view is that we have a window. The window is, I think, 3 to 5 years, and the playing field is being set right now. And there are a few companies, clearly there are a few companies on the ASX which are going to be a big part of that. If you look at Pilbara, Min Resources, they are a big part of it. Even lithium. They're focusing on producing a concentrate. Min Resources is clearly focusing on going downstream. It's really interesting that Min Resources announced that it's pulling out of its hydroxide plant joint venture with Albemarle, and it's looking towards Southeast Asia. Now, what's driving that? Cost environment. Southeast Asia is a low-cost environment. That's why we're there. So it's good to see Min Resources copying our plan. But what we're doing in Southeast Asia, we have a project there. It's a good project. We're positioned to be fairly low on the cost curve, given when we look at our peer producers in China and how they're producing, etc., and where they are on the cost curve. And so I think with these MOUs, we're extremely well positioned in Southeast Asia. So what we're trying to do now is extend from that and secure assets which we feel will produce low-cost product and be attractive to joint venture partners to produce chemical. So we're very focused on that. And this is where I come back to when you're building a strategy, you can't, you'll never, well, you could, but it's very hard in a dynamic environment for your strategy to be laid down in a sequential manner because you're in different negotiations. But our objective is to create relationships, and I'm not interested in being 100% owner of assets because we don't want to have one mine. What we want to do is become integrated into the chemical production supply chain.
Okay, so that's a bigger picture. Talk to us about the projects in Thailand, the news flow coming. I mean, when will you look to get into potentially development / production for those assets?
Well, in Thailand, we've got a mineral resource which is due during August. It's been delayed several months. It was delayed because our drilling kept going and we're hitting good stuff. And I know our shareholders are frustrated. I've seen some comments on Twitter, but the reality is it's no use updating your mineral resource and then drilling 5 more holes and then updating it again. So that's coming at, and remember, we've got 2 prospects in Thailand, Riongket and Bangi Tum. So RK to the south, where we've got a mineral resource, and that's the upgrade coming. And then BT to the north, we're drilling that out now, and we aim to produce an inaugural mineral resource later this year. At RK in the south, we'll produce a PFS this year, plenty of met work, etc. And we'll be lodging an ML this year for that project. At BT to the north, the stretch target is to lodge an ML late this year or very early next year. And then we're set. We go through that process, and while we're going through the mining license application process, we'll complete the DFS because we don't need to be on the ground to finish the DFS. That's going to be more of a desktop exercise.
Yeah.
All the work for that DFS is being done at the moment. So all our met work is DFS quality, our resources DFS quality, and so on.
Okay, the questions out there, I suspect, and I don't know, but the questions out there would be Thailand as a jurisdiction, and do you see any issues with getting those mining licenses? Are the Thai government very, I guess, positive about this, or do you see any hurdles?
Because Thailand is so big, its policy environment is so EV and lithium-ion battery focused or heavy. They want to make sure they're secured in the supply chain, and the government also wants to secure critical minerals. So late last year, they introduced a policy framework for exploration and mining of critical minerals. We've had several government delegations from various ministries to our site, and they've all been very positive about it. Given that we have the only lithium project in feasibility in the country, we get a particular focus, and that's a positive focus. Also, because we have now entered into a MOU with a very large listed company, and its parent is a government-controlled listed company, we should receive some sort of benefits out of that, i.e. we've got a very friendly partner on board,
Okay.
if you know what I mean.
We're running out of time. I was going to go into lepidolite. Let's do that another time. Paul, I'm going to have to get you back on because we are running out of time. But I think it's important as well that we talk about your recent acquisition in Chile, the Atacama project. Can you go over that? Because I think I said to you before, is Thailand no good? Clearly, you've demonstrated that it is, and there's a lot of work going behind the scenes with relationships and building and structure and strategy. Tell me why this focus on Chile.
Well, Chile is part of the strategy. So we've been working on the Chilean assets for 8 months, putting them together. And Chile is all about securing project holdings which position us for low-cost production and position us well for a partner. So the idea is that in Thailand, we're going to be capped with LCE production. It'll be ultimately somewhere between 10 and 20,000 tonnes per annum of LCE, maybe 15 and 20,000 tonnes.
Doesn't sound a lot.
It doesn't, but if you look at, if we just say the LCE price is today, it's around $30,000. It's higher, but let's just say $30,000. And we multiply that by, say, 15,000 tonnes of LCE, that's 450 million revenue. 20,000 tonnes, and it's 600 million revenue. So it's large. And if we're low cost, it's got the potential to be highly profitable. But there's a cap. And when we look at lithium chemical demand forecasts, we're looking at this year, or 2022, I think it was around 700 or so thousand tonnes. By 2030, it's above 3 million tonnes. So 20,000 tonnes isn't small. And we want to position ourselves for the potential to expand and become bigger. So the purpose of the Chilean project is it gives us exposure to extensive brine and clay opportunities, and some are really great. Also, given the geographic position, it gives us exposure to potential OEM partners. And we are already having one discussion with a large chemical company because of this asset. So we don't want to move right now. I don't think it's too early, but it's a really good sign. Why don't I flick through a few slides?
Okay, we're running out of time, so let's make this one a pretty quick one, because look, I'll have to get you back because there's so much to talk about.
Okay,
what you guys are doing. So this is Tama Atacama.
Tama Atacama. So the key here, we have the only brine salars which are about 40 kilometres from the coast, and we're at about 800 metres above sea level, 8 to 1,100 metres above sea level. So the northern part is mainly brine, and the southern part is mainly clay. So this is 1,400 square kilometres.
Wow.
And this project is an absolute winner. We've got major airport, major port, big population in this city here, which is 75 k's from these project areas. So, and down at 800 to 1,100 metres, the evaporations are super high. And when it comes to DLE, or say evaporation and water replacement, we can pump seawater to replace a dirty brine, a salty brine. So this is really key. All our peers, or most of our peers, are at around 3,000 to 4,000 metres in the Andes. So it's a very different proposition here, and very accessible. It's, I might have to get some board shorts to go to this project, because it certainly doesn't get cold there. I'll just run you through two prospects. The pink prospect, which is in the middle, we've been doing geochem work here, and you can see that some of these blocks, the clear ones are applications, the shaded ones are granted. So we're just doing drill permit right now. And we've got super high lead grades, surface lead grades, so 2,200 ppm here. And then all of these are from 1,000 to 1,500 ppm, the pink dots. So they're massive. And I've actually never seen, other than Atacama and maybe Maricunga, I've never seen salar surface lead samples this high. So it positions us very well. Then if I move south to our Helix project, which is just here, this is a small one. This is a clay style project and it has drilling here. This drilling was done by an ASX company, I think in the around 2008 or something. And it has lithium and clay of around 1,000 ppm from surface to around 25 meters. Very easy digging. And this trend, see the black dotted line goes through here. So we're looking to follow up and JORC this drilling and drill here. This whole drill program to produce a large lithium resource only requires around 2,000 meters of drilling, shallow drilling. So it'll be very quick to a resource there. So the reason why we're so excited about Atacama is its position. It's on the coast. It will be attractive to OEMs and it fits perfectly with our strategy, which is looking for low-cost, long-term assets. And most importantly, I mentioned that the reason that we are looking at this is because we're effectively constrained in Thailand to up to 20,000 tons per annum of say 10 to 20,000 tons of LCE production. This lifts the cap and allows us to move into bigger things.
All right, let's wrap it up then, Paul. Let's wrap it up. I'm going to have to get you back and talk just on Atacama in the future, but give me 3 reasons why our audience out there should sit up and take notice of you right now. Okay,
well, the first reason is low cost. So I'm big about positioning ourselves to be a low cost supplier. And that starts with your cost environment and with your processing. So in Southeast Asia, we have the perfect cost environment and we have evidence that what we're producing can be done at a very low cost. And then in South America, again, where we're positioned and what we're looking at, brines are low cost. When you look at Atacama, it's the lowest cost, largest single supplier in the world. Where I think we are now similarly positioned. Second is the opportunity to move downstream. So we're proving that in Southeast Asia with 2 great MOUs with great partners. And the idea in South America and Chile is to do the same. So keeping in mind, BYD is building a lithium iron phosphate cathode active material plant in Chile. Eramet, the French company, has opened an office in Santiago and is, I think they've committed $400 million to Chile. So Chile is interesting. So we've got low cost, opportunity to move into midstream, and then ultimately we're looking at doability. We've got assets which are doable, and we think the CapEx and OpEx will be quite low. So CapEx is low too. They're the 3 key points. All right, Paul Locke, Chairman and Managing Director of Pan Asia Metals. Ladies and gentlemen, ASX code is PAM. Make sure you check out the latest news on their website. I love your website, by the way. It's very easy to navigate through, but 2 regions, low cost, and really interesting environment to work in. And I look forward to the updates going forward. Thanks so much for joining me on Making Money Matter. Thanks, Kerry. Really good to be here.